Chaplain Greg of the 110th, and I've been chaplain for the base for 21 years, one of the handful of chaplains we have, and we have an amazing chaplain team. If you've never come down to meet us, come down to meet us, or when we get out, we'd love to talk with you. Today I'd like to talk to you for a little while about 7 habits of highly successful military families. Now, just as an example right now, fold your arms. Unfold them, fold them again. Now unfold them, now fold them the other way. Doesn't that feel weird? For me, it's very strange to fold them that way. Think about when you take the hands of one of your children when you're walking, or your spouse or your significant other. Do you put your hand on top, or do you go to the bottom? And there's typically a way in which we always hold hands with somebody else that we love. The way we fold our arms, the way we cross our legs. We have what's called muscle memory. Muscle memory. I think it's one of the reasons what makes great athletes so well is they do something over and over, repetitively, and they get so good at that. They have a muscle memory. I go shooting sometimes with a neighbor friend of mine who used to be special ops on the Army, and he's on a SWAT team. And man, when he starts shooting, he is all muscle memory at the range. He'll take my hands and I'll hang on to it and I can hit every target. But when I'm doing it myself, I have no muscle memory for it. Muscle memory. Muscle memory also deals within our relationships, how we treat each other. If we're kind, if we're not kind, if we're short, if we have a long fuse, if we speak nicely, if we don't, if we listen, if we always want to talk. Muscle memory of how we treat one another. And right now, a lot of you watching this, if you have children at home, you have now become their school teacher, their caregiver, their playmate, their parent. And for a lot of you, you're teleworking, so you're having to balance all of these balls and juggle all of these different things where we're just 3 months ago, kids were off to school. So there was some time. They came home, you had time. Able to juggle those balls a little bit better. I want to encourage all of us to think about these 7 habits, which they're not new with me. They're the Stephen Covey 7 habits of highly effective families. Well, we're going to look at the first habit. The first habit, well, that's already what we talked about, the fact that whenever we do something over and over again, it becomes repetitive and it becomes who we are. And I'm going to say this up front, being the chaplain and the Stephen Covey, the Franklin Covey program, it uses a lot of biblical references. So I'm just going to let you know that all of the habits have a biblical reference, but you'll be able to figure out within other parts of society that reference too. But we're going with the biblical right now. First habit is learn to be proactive. Learn to be proactive. So often right now, what we tend to do is we react. Talking with somebody, a parent, about a week ago, and they were just sharing the fact that they are finding themselves just getting frustrated at home because of all of the things that they have to balance, and they're reacting instead of being proactive. What is the Old Testament book of Joshua says? Joshua said, if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourself whom this day you're going to serve. Whether it's the gods of your forefathers beyond the river or the gods of the Amorites. This is when the Jewish people were going into the land of Israel. Moses had just died. And Joshua says, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. He was being proactive, saying, this is what we are going to do as a family. You know, so oftentimes people will say to me, well, I just have a short fuse. I just react. I just blow up. Well, friends, when we do that, we give up control. But when we're proactive, we maintain control of who we are and what's going on within our life. Some of the ideas about being proactive is we need to stop and take our emotional temperature. Right now, before any of us go into any building on the base, We have to stop, sanitize our hands, write our name on a sheet, take the thermometer, take our temperature, put down our temp on the sheet, sanitize our hands again, and if we're okay, we can go to work. We need to take our temperature, our physical temperature. We also can take an emotional temperature. Steps to taking control of yourself. We need to stop, pause. What are we doing? What are we thinking? What is going to start coming out of our mouth? We can think about it. What should or could not, should not we be doing? And then choose to do the best thing. Friends, we get to choose to do the best thing. For 7 months, we had 3 grandchildren, along with my son and daughter-in-law, live with us at our house here in Texas Corners area in Kalamazoo. 6-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old. Been a while since I've had little kids live with us that long. Interesting to watch how kids interact. And the middle grandson, Everett, would get so upset at his 6-year-old sister, Ruth. And he'd say, "Ruth makes me so mad." And I'd say, "Everett, who makes you mad?" "Ruth makes me mad." "Everett, who makes you mad?" "Ruth." "Everett, Papa, I make myself mad." "But no. Everett, who makes you mad?" "I make myself mad, Papa." Proactive. Learning as a 10-year-old, it's not somebody else that makes us mad, but we have responsibility. We have control over our own emotions. We can be proactive within our lives. Be proactive. We can choose how we're going to act in a situation. We also are called to begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. When my wife and I got married 12 years ago, we decided shortly after we were married, we were going to build a house. So we started looking at all architectural plans and magazines and ideas and went house hunting, and we had a piece of property to build on. Well, when we went then to the builder, by the time we were set, we had all of the blueprints done. We knew what we wanted. We began with the end in mind. The same thing with raising children. We are called to begin with the end in mind. Train up a child in the way they will go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. That passage I find is so beautiful. It's not saying that all kids are exactly the same, not saying that we train kids all the same, but the Hebrew language there is saying that all of us, when we are in the womb of our mother, we have a certain bent, certain style of personality. And you all know that kids come out of the womb sometimes, and man, you can just tell they have a personality. We all do. So what the author of Proverbs is saying is that we need to look at our children, our grandchildren, our nieces, our nephews, and realize they are all a little bit different. And how do we mold them, just like gold and silver, iron ore, are all different and need to be molded differently. Train up a child and where they will go. Begin with the end in mind. What do I want my family to stand for? It's been a lot of years since I have flown an airplane. I used to do a lot of flying for fun. Wanted to be a missionary pilot at one time in my life, many years ago. And I'd have to file a flight plan. And that flight plan would let the FAA would let the air traffic controllers know what I was planning to do, where I was going. We need a flight plan, friends, for our families. My flight plan for my family has been, and for my grandchildren, is to raise faith-filled, well-adjusted, contributing members to society. Faith-filled, hearts up to God. Well-adjusted, emotionally, physically, relationally, contributing members to society. People who are willing, children and grandchildren who are willing to work and step up within society. Be proactive. Begin with the end in mind. The third is to put first things first. Now, I'm sure you've all seen this before with the bucket with the rocks. I wanted to do it today, but I didn't. I thought a picture is sometimes worth 1,000 words. You know, you got a bucket, and then you have a bunch of big rocks, but you got a lot of little rocks. And the question is, when you take everything out of the bucket and you ask, and I've done this before on Sundays for teaching during sermons, kids love to put all the little stuff in first, and then they put the big rocks, but it doesn't fit. But if you put all the big rocks in first and fill it in with all the little rocks and the sand, everything fits. Within our lives, we have a lot of big rocks. Right now, we have a lot of big rocks within our lives. Well, the reality is we always do. And I'd say the biggest rock within our life is walking with our families. Walking as a family. And for myself, as I said, my biggest rock is walking with God. But for some of you, walking with family is planning family meals, spending time together with your family, doing an education or skill with your family, cleaning your house. Some big rocks. I love right now in our neighborhood, we have always called it the campground, because come warm weather, people come out of their houses, they're on the road. But typically the campground opens up and families go their separate ways. The last 5 weeks, the campground's been open and the families are together. And they're walking by our house in their family unit, talking and being together as one. Putting first things first. Some little rocks within our lives. Watching TV, binge watching Netflix for too long. Right here. Chatting with friends on the phone for too much time when we need to be spending time with family. Spending too much time on video games. Now, my wife would disagree with that one over here. This comes from the Franklin Covey program, but reading a good book. She would say, nope, reading a good book is a big rock for her because it gives her that stability within life and that emotional stability that she needs. Families, the big rocks. I've already told you my mission statement, but I would encourage you all, whether you're a single or whether you're married, whether you're a parent, develop a mission statement for yourself. Plan regular family times to do things. Even right now, with the family being all on top of each other, you still got to plan that time to get outdoors. Plan that time to say, let's play a card game right now. Schedule regular one-on-one bonding times and build family traditions. Stephen Covey, who started this whole program of 7 Habits of Highly Successful Family or People, says, if you do these things, I can guarantee that the quality of your life will improve dramatically. And I would do an amen for that statement. I agree totally with them. Also, we need to realize that within our lives of putting of the big rocks is we are all like a bank account. Our hearts are like a bank account. You know, for most of us, and I hope for all of us, you're investing money for retirement. Investing money for that other toy you want. Investing money to send kids to college or to VOTEC. And we put money into the bank or into investments. But then we take the withdrawals. We all know what's happened the last 2 months, 2.5 months. What happened to our investments? They dove deeply, but they're coming back. Emotional bank accounts within our lives, we can invest in each other. We invest in our spouses. We invest in our significant others. We invest in our children by keeping our promises, by doing small acts of kindness, by being loyal, by listening, by learning to say, you know what, I am sorry. I'm sorry I did that. Setting clear expectations. We make withdrawals when we break our promises, when we put our loved ones or other people down, when we gossip and break confidence, when we don't listen, when we're arrogant, and when we set false expectations. Be proactive, friends. Begin with the end in mind. Put first things first. Number 4 is think of a win-win, grow. A lot of people in life, we tend to think of win-lose and just thinking about watching TV. I'm the dad. I am the dad. I am the grandpa. I get the remote. You guys don't get it. Win for me, lose for everybody else. Lose, win. Oh yeah. As the dad or the papa, I always have to give up the remote. I never have any say in the house at all. It's always what they want. I don't get, oh, poor is me. I might as well go eat some worms. That's a lose, and the kids think they win. Not good. lose, lose. You get into an argument about what to watch and you take the remote and you throw it up against the wall. Well, right there you were being reactive, not proactive, but you both lose. What I'm suggesting is that you do a win-win. Decide together what to watch. Decide together to turn the TV off and play some cards. Decide together what is best for both of you or for all of you as a family and go with that. Do a win-win situation. Be proactive. Begin with the end in mind. Put first things first. Think win-win. Grow, grow. Oh, how did he end up on that slide up there? Hello, Colonel, sir. He wants us to grow within our work with each other. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. In other words, we got to listen twice as much as we talk. I love the fact that God's given us 2 ears and only one mouth. But too many people talk twice as much, 3 times as much, 4 times as much as they listen. Try this sometime. If you're in a group of people, listen to everybody talk. I have done this often throughout my career. More often than not, everybody is trying to say something, but nobody is actually listening. Just listen in a crowd sometime. Listen in your family sometimes if people are actually listening. Yourself, ask yourself, do you actually listen? The New Testament says, fathers, don't exasperate your children by coming down on them. Take them by the hand. Lead them away in the way of the master. In other words, listen first. Listen. Lead in a way that the kids will want to hear you. Phrases that will open the door to keep the door open with listening. We need to open the door so that we can say to somebody, hey, what you're sharing there, would you tell me a little bit more about it? You know, the boss, Colonel Holtz, often says that he wants to hear from any of us about what's going on. What he's saying is, right, sir, you want to hear from people what's going on. He wants to listen. Keep the door open. To keep the door open, there's the 2 words that are active listening and I statements. Active listening and I statements. As an individual, I am called to be proactive by saying, this is how I feel. This is what I need. This is what I want. That's an I statement. But then active listening is for me to be able to say to somebody else, I hear you saying that you're frustrated with me because I wasn't very clear with those directions. I hear you saying that this drill weekend's been a little frustrating because maybe you couldn't get on Microsoft Teams or you had other problems going on. I hear you saying that it's a little frustrating being at home with the Rugrats right now because you're trying to balance being a parent, teleworking, cleaning the house, providing for the food, keeping the discipline going, and all of the rest. I hear you saying that's a little frustrating. Keep the door open. I hear you saying, I hear you saying this is how you see it. Or, so it sounds like maybe you feel this way about this situation. Friends, we can truly learn with each other. First to understand, first to listen, second to be understood. Be proactive. Begin with the end in mind. Put first things first. Think win-win. Grow, grow. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. 6th step is synergize. Synergize is the idea that a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. Think about it. If you have long hair, you braid your hair in strands of 3. Rope is braided in strands of 3. The Hebrew people would say that marriages were built on a strand of 3. Yahweh God, the husband, and the wife. Synergy is working together. And when you and your family creatively work together, it's synergy. We have a family at the base. We are called to work together, to be supportive of each other. Now, synergy is celebrating differences. We are all different. It's not just simply tolerating differences. It's teaming up, working together as one. It's not always wanting to work independently. I know people that, man, they cannot work with somebody else. Well, synergy is saying we can team together and work with each other. Synergy is being open-minded to not say the words, I'm always right, or that's the way it's always been, but to be open-minded, to think. Synergy is finding new and better ways to do things. Synergy is not always feeling like you're compromising, because that's a loss for you then. Be proactive. Begin with the end in mind. Put first things first. Think win-win. Grow. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. And synergize. Work with one another. A cord of three is not easily broken. Finally, learn to sharpen each other's skills. As iron sharpens iron, so too one man, one woman sharpens another. This gets back into the whole idea of muscle memory, sharpening each other's skills. I can honestly say the last 10 years, Chaplain Cortland Pitt has helped me pass my fit test. There have been a handful of times I have done the laps, the 6 laps, and I am not a runner. I've been told I run like a cow. And I'm on the 5th or 6th lap, and I am like dying city out there. And he's come out there and gone to the inside and has said, come on, chap, you can do it. Come on, chap, you can do it. Come on, you can do it. Come on, keep it running. You can do it. Come on, you can do it. That is iron sharpening iron. That is teamwork together. Thankfully, I've always been able to pass, but it's been because of sharpening iron from somebody else. Physically, learn to live. Mentally, learn to learn. Emotionally, called to have a heart with each other. Spiritually, soul to worship. Now, within the Air Force side, we have the 4 pillars of resiliency. We have physical, mental, spiritual, and social. Calling somebody the other day, another airman, and I said, say, how are you doing? What's going on? And they said, chap, what we're doing every morning is we're getting up, or I'm getting up, and I'm asking myself, okay, what am I going to do today in each one of the 4 pillars of resiliency? Just something small. But what am I going to do physically? What am I going to do relationally, socially? What am I going to do mentally? What am I going to do spiritually within my life? And I listened to that, and I heard the airman speak to me. And I learned something new, because it's not something that I do typically. And it's something I want to start to work on, to be proactive. In each one of the areas, the 4 areas, what am I going to do today to help my emotional state? Physical, exercise, get involved with things, do family work together. Mental, learn new things, discuss ideas, develop new talents. Socially, love, affirm each other, laugh at inside jokes, relax together, build relationships. Spiritual, your soul, leave a legacy, renew commitments, clarify directions, pray and worship together, read inspirational or sacred literature together. 7 habits of highly successful military, but also civilian families. Now, this slide, I don't want to confuse you, but I know we're all Air Force, so we will not get confused on this. This is the unsuccessful families. The family says, I can't do that. Or it says, I don't know what's important in your life. Why would I know what's important in your life? You're just my kid for the last 15 years. Why would I know? Well, no, that's unsuccessful. You spend time doing what is not good for you. Bad habit. You think that if someone wins, someone else always has to lose. That's not true. We can do the win-win. Habit 5, you always talk and 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 never listen. Okay, next time some of you see me, if you got this far in the video, you're going to say, hey, Chaplain, how are you doing? How was your COVID-19 time at home and work? You're going to play with me, hopefully, with that idea. Then I know you actually watched this. Habit number 7, unsuccessful families. You do not take care of yourself or your family. Friends, that is not right for us not to take care of ourselves or our families. To sum it all up, the final. Landing the airplane finally. 7 habits of highly effective families. Be proactive. Begin with the end in mind. Put first things first in your life. Think win-win, grow. Seek first to understand, then to be understood, or seek first to listen before you speak. Synergize, work together, and sharpen each other's skills. Airmen of the 110th, may your life be blessed, and may we continue to serve in this great nation. Amen.